this bulletin with breaking news coming in this flood. Pakistan's plot falling into place a day after Jadhav's sentencing. Nawaz Sharif has demanded US intervention in Kashmir, says the United States can play a pivotal role in Kashmir. Let's go across to our Foreign Affairs editor, Geeta Mohan, who is joining us on the phone. And Geeta, clearly you can see Pakistan's devious plot being unraveled strand by strand.
Well, that's right. Not the first time, Ritangshu, we hear Pakistan come out and openly say that they want an intervention by the United States of America. Even when the conversation took place between Nawaz Sharif and Donald Trump, Pakistan put out a press release, which is again unprecedented, where they quoted what the other leader was saying rather than saying what they had spoken to Donald Trump about, saying that that Donald Trump was okay mediating. And then there was a rebuttal to that from the State Department, saying the President of America did not say any such thing. Now Nawaz Sharif reiterating this very same stand, wanting intervention on Kashmir. We do know that the focus of the Pakistani army has been Kashmir and Kashmir alone. And to further their interests in Kashmir, Pakistan has done whatever illegal or ultra-virus of international norms, any such method that is required to further the interest in Kashmir. And now we see Nawaz Sharif reiterating that stand just a day after a Pakistani military court has pronounced death sentence for an Indian national, Kulbhushan Jadhav.
Indeed, Geeta, thank you so much for joining us with those updates here. Now, just to put things into perspective, let's listen into what the Indian response was officially, of course, in Parliament. Listen into what Minister for External Affairs Sushma Swaraj stated.
That Sri Jadhav was doing business in Iran and was kidnapped and taken to Pakistan. The exact circumstances are unclear. He is the victim of a plan that seeks to cast aspersions on India to deflect international attention from Pakistan's well-known record of sponsoring and supporting terrorism. Under these circumstances, we have no choice but to regard the sentence if carried out as an act of premeditated murder.
Kulbhushan.
Now, for the first time on Indian television, NewsX has the full story of Pakistan's three-part plot that led to the Jadhav execution order by the Pakistan Army. It's an explosive narrative that shows just how petty China can be to India standing up to its bullying, and how desperate Pakistan is to bleed India and appease perhaps its only surviving ally, even if it is at the cost of an innocent life. Reliable sources at the highest levels have told NewsX that they are seriously investigating credible reports that indicate that the entire episode and the haste behind it were conducted at three levels. One of the key precursors to Pakistan's plot is likely to have been China looking to send an indirect message to India after the Dalai Lama's nub.
I would find it very hard to believe that China would put pressure of this kind. China is having some tension and friction with us, but they are very astute diplomatic thing. They will not make a third country do this kind of thing. If they had somebody in their own country, they may. An Indian citizen, they may charge him with spying and things like that. But it's, from the amount I know about China, I can say it's most unlikely that they would have put any pressure on Pakistan.
China is not a democracy and does not think it's bound by any laws of any kind. And Pakistan, on the face of it, is a democracy, but internally probably that's also like a martial law which is operating in that country. That's all I want world to know, that how to deal with these two countries which do not abide by any law.
All right, so let's open up part one of the nefarious Pakistan plot to execute Jadhav up for debate. Joining me right now in the studio is Colonel Girish K. Mendiratha. Narendra Taneja also joins us as representing the BJP as its spokesperson, and also joining me is Kawal Sibal, former MEA Secretary. Mr. Sibal, coming to you first, does this not strike you as quite possible that China quite snubbed and quite taken aback by the Indian resistance to its opposition on Dalai Lama, trying to pressurize Pakistan in order to pay India back?
No, I consider this quite fanciful. I don't think China has a role in this.
why why take the heat off Pakistan's rogue conduct by bringing China in? Pakistan has acted like a semi-rogue state since years, and this is part of their unique selling point, that they can promote terrorism and get away with it, because the Western world is not willing to sanction Pakistan, and China is fully backing Pakistan for all its activities against India and hostilities against India, arming them with nuclear weapons, technology and missiles. And now with Nikki Haley making the kind of statement she made in the United Nations, they feel encouraged to raise the level of tensions. And then, as you have noted, with the Nawaz Sharif appealing to the United States to intervene, so they feel that this would create the necessary level of tension in Pakistan, in India-Pakistan relations, which would make Trump and the United States take notice. So this is a well-calculated strategy, but a failing strategy. They won't go anywhere, and I must make one additional point, that what they are actually hoping is that there will be a lot of public relations problem that the government of India will face, because many people in India will start saying that India must do everything possible to save Kulbhushan Jadhav's life, even engaging in a dialogue of sorts, etc. We saw in the IC-814 case where we had to release terrorists in order to get the plane released and the passengers released. So they are playing that game again, and they will cause a lot of flutter in our own society and make the government handling of the issue difficult.
Very interesting, Mr. Sibal, because again the possibility of a swap is something.
But let me make another point.
Yes.
Let me make another point. But let me make another point. You know, I don't think they are going to execute him very quickly.
Okay.
But if they did, of course, they will be bringing onto themselves the wrath of many countries, including countries in Europe, major countries in Europe, who are very ideologically opposed to capital punishment.
All right, the prospect of a spy swap is something we'll be looking in part 2 really of this plot which we have got here. And while Mr. Sibal, it does come across as quite fantastic of having China trying to put pressure on Pakistan, but Colonel Mendiratha, can that really be ruled out? Because we have got this information from quite very senior sources within the government. We don't want to reveal much, obviously, for obvious reasons here. But the prospect of China, if not directly, at least indirectly adding weightage to Pakistan's stand here, in order for its own diplomatic benefit, can that really be ruled out?
Whereas I would tend to agree with Mr. Sibal, but I have a different take on it. As a matter of fact, I don't think it can be ruled out.
Yes.
Firstly, because, you know, there are two issues involved in this. One is, of course, Pakistan is a strategic asset as far as China is concerned, to balance the equations as far as the South Asia is concerned. That is point one. Point two, which I want to say is, China, after the Dalai Lama snub given by India, China wants to score a point on it. Yeah. And China, rightly so, probably would have you know, played into the hands of Pakistan, or would have directed Pakistan. This is an issue which will hurt India very much. And sure enough, this has hurt India very much. It is quite clear, in case this issue escalates, and they go beyond, when I say go beyond, they execute Kulbhushan, the things will come to such a state that there will be no retrieval. So what I would say is, China could have played the card, whereas I would tend to agree with Mr. Sibal for once, but yes, to rule out entirely probably may not be right.
So how do we combat a situation, Narendra Taneja, where the two biggest neighbors and the most crucial neighbors of India and not only are at odds with it for quite some time, but also there seems to be a tacit and a growing cooperation between both countries. And this is not the first time. We have all seen how China has essentially acted as a global shield for Masood Azhar, from any sort of prosecution in the United Nations as well. It cannot be ruled out of some sort of a tacit quid pro quo between China and Pakistan just to rub it into India.
Well, we all know China is no saint. And we also know that, you know, China treats Pakistan like a client state and is investing heavily in building infrastructure and are also making inroads into the economic, political, social, cultural life of Pakistan. We all know that. But with regard to this particular story that you have just broken, I think I'll leave it to the MEA to comment on it. But I think the important debate is that what Pakistan has done. Mr. Jadhav is a businessman. He's a businessman who operates in an area near Chabahar in Iran. We all know the border between Iran and Pakistan is a porous border. So what the Pakistani agencies, what they have done is they basically have gone into Iran and kidnapped him. That's what exactly has happened. And now they're trying to create a new story. What they want basically from us, they want us to pay attention to them. They want us, basically the world, to pay attention to Pakistan, and they want to convey to the world that, look, this is what India does in Balochistan. Because Balochistan is not only on our radar, it's in the radar of the entire world today. The world is talking about Balochistan thanks to our efforts. We know how they treat Balochis. We know how women are being raped there. We know the human rights record, and the whole world is today talking about it. So basically, it's a tactic to deflect that attention from the real thing. And let's not forget, we know that Pakistan has got multiple centers of power. And this is a kind of, we also know there is some kind of thing going on between the army, ISI, and probably the civilian regimes there, or maybe even some other people who knows the mullahs and the jihadis and so on and so forth. So I think our focus is that, but I want to convey one thing. This government, our government, the BJP government under the leadership Prime Minister Narendra Modi, we know how to deal with Pakistan. Just wait for some time. If, for instance, last 6 months you have not... Pakistan has not uttered a word, and they really have been working how to respond to India's diplomatic initiatives, military initiatives, and also so on and so forth. So if today now they actually have stooped to so low that they want to actually kill a person, go for this murder, if they did that, they will have to pay a very, 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 very heavy price. They will know it, the whole world will see it.
That is obviously assuming a worst case scenario, but the priority of course is to get the Kulbhushan Jadhav back safe and sound, and which brings us now to the second part of this nefarious plot. We understand that the Pakistan ISI too was quite keen to oblige China, going by sources, given that it was still smarting from the suspected abduction of its own man from the Indo-Nepal border on the 5th of April. Lieutenant Colonel Habib Zahir, believed to be a spy of the ISI, was last seen in Lumbini in Nepal, very near the Indian border on the 5th of April, before having gone missing, possibly picked up by Indian authorities here. Which then brings us to the third and final act of Pakistan's devious ploy, played out right here on NewsX last Friday, when Pakistan's envoy to NewsX, Abdul Basit, ominously name-dropped Kulbhushan Jadhav out of almost nowhere. Basit mentioned Kulbhushan as one of the many outstanding issues between India and Pakistan that need to be discussed. Thus, Pakistan's death sentence on Jadhav just a ploy to arm twist India into dropping its own talks only on terror line and be forced to come to the dialogue table.
There is no doubt that Pakistan-India relationship is a difficult relationship. As far as Pakistan is concerned, we strongly feel that, and by the way, there is national consensus in Pakistan that we should have a normal cooperative relationship with India, and we are working towards that end. Yes, terrorism is one issue on which we also have concerns, from Samjhota Express last trial to Kulbhushan Jadhav, but I think in order to address all these issues, which unfortunately continue to bedevil our relationship, be it Jammu and Kashmir, Siachen, Sar Creek, terrorism, we need to discuss all these issues.
They think that they are nuclear weapon power and India will bow to them. They do not realize that nuclear weapons harm any country anywhere where it lands, not only in India, so harm them even more.
Pakistan has been trying very hard to push India to a corner, to push India to come to the talking table. The evidence of that is in the admission of none other than Pakistani High Commissioner to India, Abdul Basit, when he spoke to NewsX and was asked on terrorism. His response was, talk Kulbhushan Jadhav, then we talk terror. Clearly, the message is, come to the talking table.
Constable, it now begins to make sense. This is how it can be broken down. First step is to make it very clear on a public platform that as far as Pakistan is concerned, terror is only just one of these issues which it wants to discuss with India, other being Kashmir, other being Sir Creek, other being Samjhauta Express, one of them also being Kulbhushan Jadhav. Just 2 days after we aired this interview comes this rather sudden and abrupt death sentence pronounced in Kulbhushan Jadhav, almost making it very difficult for India to stick to its line of no talks unless Pakistan stops terror, forcing India to be ready to talk to Kulbhushan Jadhav, at least beginning a front for Pakistan to bring upon other issues which it wants to discuss with India as well.
I don't understand this logic. Does this mean that if they killed so many soldiers in Uri and committed all those acts in Pathankot and Nagrota, those lives are not important, and Kulbhushan Jadhav's life is so important that we will enter into a dialogue with Pakistan under duress because they can blackmail us into dialogue? I don't see the logic of this. And if the idea was that they want to have an exchange because we seem to have got in our custody some ISI spy operating in Lumbini area, then the answer is not to execute Kulbhushan Jadhav, but actually retain the possibility of an exchange between the two sides. And thirdly, we have never said that we are not willing to have a dialogue with Pakistan, but what we have said is that we must first talk on terror.
Yes.
So if Pakistan wants to talk on terror, fine. We have been open to this. It's not as if we have rejected the dialogue. But they want to have a composite dialogue where they want to bring in Kashmir and all the other issues you have mentioned, which has been going on since the middle 90s, and it has led nowhere because Pakistan will not give up the arm of terrorism against us. The root cause of our tensions in our area is Pakistan's sponsorship of terror against us, which they refuse to give up. And this Kulbhushan Jadhav episode is one more act of a terrorist state and a semi-rogue state, which is willing to go to any length to create artificial and real tensions between the two countries, or rather create tensions artificially between the two countries, so as to get the world community to take notice of tensions and intervene. But they have tried this before for decades, and it's not worked. So I can't see how rational people on their side think that by executing Kulbhushan Jadhav,
that goes by the assumption that there are rational people in Pakistan taking decisions.
In fact,
Indeed.
And the China, let me. Well, I agree with you, but insofar as China is concerned, China should be more worried about the possible Indian reaction, because the public opinion in India will be outraged if he is executed precipitately. And China will have to worry about the repercussions of this on the CPEC and Balochistan and everything else. So I don't see it in their interest for us on a small issue like this, which is of no direct concern to China, that they will risk their massive investment in Pakistan and give India reason and the motivation to do something more serious about this. So I really don't buy this logic.
Narendra, Taneja, again, the focus being, is this Pakistan's attempt? It's a different matter that it comes across as so foolhardy that no sane person would fall for it. But at least if you look at the intent here, it seems to be a desperate and devious ploy to somehow get India to back down from its absolutely firm stand of no talks unless Pakistan acts on terror. And if you look at all the other surround sound that's happened here, this abrupt mention of Kulbhushan Jadhav before the sentencing came, the trying to capitalize on Nikki Haley's statements initially that Trump was willing to somehow negotiate or at least look at trying to bring about a lasting peace between the two nations, a statement which Yusuf later withdrew. Do you see as at least as last-ditch attempts in Pakistan to somehow try and shift the goalposts from their side so as to make it a bit more favorable for them?
Well, my sense is that, is basically frustration on the part of Pakistan. And we really don't know who is behind what. Whether it's the military or it's ISI or it's the civilian government or who is basically doing this. And when, like this case, when they take it to the civilian court, what would happen? And have they really, got some solid evidence in their hand or not? Because they have not allowed our embassy diplomats, Indian diplomats, to meet him, or the consular access. They've denied that. So the question is that who, even within Pakistan, is really buying the argument that the military has to offer on this particular issue. But our line is very clear. Look, Pakistan is is almost a rogue state. It's probably one of the very few countries in the world is sponsoring terrorism and exporting terrorism. The whole world knows it. And as far as that's the reason, for instance, statement coming from here and there, they basically try to bank upon the such a statement and try to amplify them and target India in not only in the region but across the world. The question is that who is really buying Pakistan arguments? Nobody is buying Pakistan arguments. And if they did something stupid when it comes to the life of Kulbhushan Jadhav, okay, I think they would be committing a huge blunder. And second point, what is important at the same time, if they really want to do business with India, they want to talk with India, they need to first identify. They first need to identify what exactly they want to talk. The whole world, we saw what happened just the other day in Stockholm. We have seen what happened in St. Petersburg. The whole world basically wants to find a solution to the problem of terrorism. And here is a country, a large country, nuclear weapon country, doing what? Promoting terrorism, sponsoring terrorism and exporting terrorism. So this is the issue not only for India, for the whole world when it comes to Pakistan.
Indeed, Colonel Mendiratha, coming to the other important aspect, that of the ISI spy who was nabbed by India, or allegedly nabbed by India. We don't have any confirmation from the Indian side yet. He disappeared from Lumbini around the 5th of April, right near the Indo-Nepal border, and reports seem to suggest that obviously he has been taken into custody by India for trying to spy onto our affairs. Now, do you see this as somewhere linked to that episode as well? And perhaps going forward, as Kanwal Sibal pointed out, do we see Pakistan now revealing yet another desperate card, that is the exchange of a spy for the release of what they claim to be a spy, but what India insists is an Indian citizen, Kulbhushan Jadhav?
But see, even if we have got that spy with us, even if we have arrested him or brought him from Lumbini to our country, my point is, why go out of the way and say that we'll execute Kulbhushan Jadhav? This could have been done in a diplomatic manner and said, okay, you have got this chap of ours, we have got Kulbhushan, let's do a fair exchange.
Yes.
Could have happened that way. I really don't think that probably these two things are linked to each other. I really don't think that there's a linkage between this so-called Haider being caught in Lumbini and Kulbhushan Jadhav's sentence, which has been announced. And what I want to bring out further in this is, unfortunately, and rightly so, the military is ruling the roost as far as Pakistan is concerned. The constitutional authority in Pakistan, as the civilians are concerned, there is no constitutional authority which is existing today. So there's a total mismatch there. I just heard Sartaj Aziz probably was not aware.
Yes.
Till the time the media broke it out. He was not aware that this Kulbhushan Jadhav has been sentenced. So the point is that there's no linkage between the things. The constitutional authority of the civilian establishment does not exist in Pakistan. So let's be clear on this. Okay. The army is ruling the roost as far as Pakistan is concerned today. And like the BJP gentleman is talking, that we'll take actions, we'll do these things, and last 6 months we have been doing things. But my point is, sir, what have we been doing? A simple thing like declaring Pakistan a terrorist state. A bill was presented in the Rajya Sabha. There were no takers for the bill. We go around, telling USA, telling other countries in the world that Pakistan is a terror state. As a matter of fact, there's a bill which has been raised by a senator in USA, Ted Poe, that to declare Pakistan a terrorist state. And in our own country, we have still not reached a consensus. I think it's a high time we start making our words into actions. Unfortunately, we are talking, but we are not doing anything substantial.
I have 1 minute on this debate, so I'd let Mr. Narendra Taneja respond to that and give his summation as well.
Well, you see, India is a responsible country. You see, we are highly respected the world over. We know what is diplomacy. Mr. Sibal is sitting here. He's better equipped to comment on than this me. The question is that, when it comes to Indian Parliament, we are the largest democracy in the world, and our Parliament is home to the largest democracy in the world. So we want to do whatever we do in the Parliament or outside the Parliament in a manner which, for instance, befits our persona as a nation and our image as one of the most powerful democracies in the world. With regard to Pakistan, I think if you have to ask Pakistani diplomats, why are they mum? Why are they quiet? For instance, the kind of power struggle going on within the Pakistani army, the kind of things are going on in Islamabad, within the Pakistani establishments. And the reason is because we have put so much of pressure on Pakistan, they are finding it difficult to breathe. If some people can't see it, I only say that
So,
please talk with the
so
Pakistani
while
people in
we
Islamabad
conclude-
and you'll get to know the truth.
While
You
we
will get to
conclude
know
on the
what
hope-
BJP government has done since we came to power.
While we conclude on the hope that the central government is doing what it can and what it can in the future as well, not just to give Pakistan to teach Pakistan a lesson, but also get back Kulbhushan Jadhav, of course, India's heroes, and that is, of course, the note on which I leave you, gentlemen. On the other side of a short break, you will understand why India truly has set the bar high when it comes to humanity, and it's a lesson Pakistan would do very well indeed to learn from. Thank you so much for joining me, Colonel Mendirata, Narendra Tanajan Kawal Sibal. It's time